We're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce the people that are going to be assisting in this session. So the first one is Laura Ricaldi. She's a PhD of Personal Finance Planning here at the Woodbury School of Business at the Utah Valley University. You're also going to hear from Karen Tebbs, Director of Business Development at Utah Community Credit Union. You're also going to hear from Jenny Sass, and she's with the Utah Educational Savings Plan. She's right over here. Welcome. Let's give these guys a great round of applause.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. It is a pleasure to be here this evening. It's very exciting. I'm new to the area, so this is just awesome to see so many women in one spot learning about something that's so important and that I'm so passionate about. It's just awesome. So today, we're going to start off with a quick, funny video. The video I was going to show is a sketch from Saturday Night Live, and it basically talks about how you shouldn't buy things you can't afford. And so it's Steve Martin and Amy Poehler, and they talk about how you shouldn't buy things you can't afford, and some help guy comes in and says, really, you shouldn't buy things you can't afford, and it's just really funny because you think about it and you watch it and you're like, who does that? Like, really, who thinks like that? Who does that? Well, you see it a lot. You see a lot of people buying things they can't afford. We can look at the statistics, and the credit card debt is very high. And so it's just kind of a funny reminder that it's okay. We all do that. So how are we going to move on if we have done that in the past? So a brief overview, we're going to talk about your money personality. We're going to do an assessment today to figure out your money personality. It's just very quick, broad, general money personality. Then we're going to talk about creating financial goals, creating a spending plan based on your goals and your money personality, and then finally how to achieve your goals given certain situations. So let's start with your money personality. First, it's influenced by your motivations, by the internal characteristics that might impact the way you spend money. So a lot of our money personality comes from our parents. So I learned a lot of my the way I spend money from watching my parents, just seeing how they did it, so that's how I do it. And so now that I know what's going on and I've been educated in this for so long, I'm like, ooh, maybe that's not such a good way to spend money. The next is your time orientation. So do you want to consume now? Does that make you happier to have stuff now? Or do you want to consume in the future? And then your risk orientation. So are you ready to accept some risks, or would you rather not and be a little bit more conservative? Either way, it's fine. So we're going to talk a little bit about how these influence your money personality. So let's find out. So there's a handout, and on the front of your handout, it's kind of a graph like this. So it has a code, the question number, and then your answer. So right now we're going to fill in your answer. So it's either A, B, C, or D for each of the questions we're going to go through. So does anybody need a handout? No, everybody has one? There's some over here, Ryan. So answer each question to the best of your ability. Not all of the answers will be exactly how you feel because there's only 4, so it's kind of limited in that. But answer the one that best suits you. And imagine yourself if you're younger. So when I would do this before I had graduated and gotten a real job, I would imagine if I had my dream job and started making that income, how would I answer these questions? So if you don't have a job yet, or you're kind of working part-time, then how are you going, you answer these questions in the future. And there's no right or wrong answer. So don't think, ooh, I need to answer it this way because that sounds better, or this way sounds better. It's you. No one's going to be looking at your survey or your results. So, question 1. So then you'll just write your answer in the answer column next to question 1. Everybody got question 1? So question 2. If I won $1 million, what would you do with it? Okay, here's question 3. Was everybody finished with question 2? Okay, perfect. Here's question 4. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. So if you feel a certain way, just answer that way. Okay, question 5. Okay, question 6, short question. These are hard. Yeah, so it's hard to kind of see how people view you, especially regarding money, because people don't like to talk about money. But just answer how you think people might see you as. Okay, here's question 7. Okay, we ready to move to 8? Okay. Okay, here's 9. So only 3 more, so hang in there. We're almost done. Okay, we ready? Okay, here's 10. Okay, we ready? Only 2 more, and then we'll get to the good stuff. Okay, here's the last question. Credit cards. So your sheet should have answers in all of the answer columns. And then now we're going to fill out the code column. So you're going to put the letter, it's either going to be a P, E, R, or S, according to where it goes in the question. So for example, question 1, you answered A, you're going to put a P in the little code column. Can everybody see this okay? I hope. So those of you that are finished, you're going to now add up each number that you have and put it into the next little table underneath the table you've already filled out. So you might have like 5 P's, 4 E's. Okay, so after you have all of your letters, all of your code, count up each letter. So you might have 6 P's, 5 R's, 0 E's, and 1 S. So it can be any combination. So is everybody finished counting, coding? Okay, so this is the table where you'll put in the number of P, E, R, or S. Now we're going to talk about what each of these mean. You kind of have a brief summary on your sheet already. But basically, your money personality is dependent on 2 dimensions. So we talked about if you like satisfaction now or if you like satisfaction in the future. It's also based on your willingness to take risks. So do you like to take risks and you like to take risks with your money, or are you more conservative? Either way is okay. So the dimensions provide us with 4 money motivators. The first is pleasure, then the entrepreneurial spirit, the R is recognition, and the S is security. So everybody has elements of all of these, and we usually sometimes have one that's more dominant than the other. So if you have 5 or 4 and all the other groups have maybe 3 or 2 or 1, the one you have the most of is considered your money personality. But you have elements in all of them. So the quadrants are here. We can see that the pleasure and reputation people are more present-oriented, so they like to have gratification today or this month, whereas the entrepreneurial or security people like to have things in the future. Whereas the pleasure and entrepreneurial are more risk tolerant. That means that they are able to handle more risk. It doesn't upset them when things are risky. Whereas the reputation and security, they're more risk averse. So they would prefer not to take risk, but if they had to, they would. So, what is your motive? We have the pleasure. So these people that scored the most in the pleasure column, so it's okay if you do, like to take risks, but also like to enjoy their money. You can't take it with you, so why not use it, you know? So they love retail therapy. These are very broad kind of descriptions of people that display each motive. So the benefits, these people make the world more fun. But if you take it to the extreme, these people can be gamblers. They can use money, like Gail Miller said, for bad things rather than positive. The next is recognition. So I'm just going to briefly cover these. There's more information on your handout just because of time's sake. So recognition, these people like to be recognized for who they are. They're not very conservative. They like to take risks. Actually, they're a little bit more cautious than the pleasure and the entrepreneurial. And they make the world more beautiful, so they like things to make them recognized. But they can become posers, so someone that acts like they're someone they're really not. The challenge here is to avoid overspending. So we're going to, and then there's one more, the entrepreneurship motive. So this motive, the people like to create wealth. They make the world more progressive, but they can be a little too confident and possibly get into debt. So there's benefits to each motive and there's negatives to each motive. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, and I forgot security. So security, when I took this, I fall into the security category, which when I've taken this a couple years ago, I was in the pleasure category. So you can switch. And since getting my full-time job here, I've been a little bit more cautious with the way I view money. Now that I'm working full-time, it's like, ooh, I worked really hard to get that paycheck. Maybe I'm not going to go and just spend it on fun things like I used to like to do. So the security motive, these people avoid risk. We like to make the world more stable and safe. So you like to plan ahead and have things secure. Avoid debt and pay off things if they were to ever be into debt. So you have no problem saving, but you might have problems or issues being a little too conservative. You can take a few more risks that might be necessary in order to achieve certain things. So now that we know our motives, our money personality, and how we view money, let's talk a little bit about creating goals. So we all know that creating goals, yeah, that's something that everybody says that you need to do, but do we really do it? Do we go home and do we really sit down and we say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. This is how I want my money to start working for me. This is what I want to use my money as a tool for. So, first of all, goals need to be specific. We're going to go over the SMART model. So we always hear in school that you need to have goals and they need to be specific. So you need to have exactly what you want to accomplish and when. And so you need to be specific. Next, they need to be measurable. So how much will it cost you? How much will you be willing to sacrifice in order to achieve these goals? It needs to be attainable or achievable. So can you achieve this goal based on your financial situation? It needs to be relevant. So is your goal doable? Can you actually achieve this goal? So if my goal was to be President of the United States of America, is that really relevant? Am I able to attain that? Is that possible? And how would I write out a goal if that was my future goal? And then it has to be time-based. So you need to know when will you achieve your goal. Will it be within a year? Will it be within 3 years? Will it be a retirement goal? So that's going to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line. If you ever plan to retire, some people just don't even plan to retire. You also need to, based on your goals, know what your needs and wants are. So everybody likes to have certain things, and those are your wants. So your wants are like if you want designer clothes rather than just regular old jeans, if you want the designer brand or something like that, or a new TV versus the one that you have that currently still works. Whereas needs are something that you can't be without. So nutritious food, shelter, a warm winter coat, especially here, because I hear it gets really cold, and a good pair of shoes. So it's important to definitely know what each of those needs versus wants are. So we've all heard this before, but it's especially important in your financial goal making. So here's some examples. So you want to save money. So is that one of these SMART type of goals? Does it tell us when we want to save money or how much we want to save or what we're going to do with it? Are we just going to put it on our mattress or are we going to take it to a bank? So here's a more specific. I want to save 12% of my income from my paycheck and invest it in a Roth IRA. So it doesn't necessarily give that much of a time frame. It says this year, but possibly you want to do this for 30 years. So here's another example. I want to save for my kids' college education. So this is not very specific. How many kids do you have? How much do you actually want to save? Where do you want to save it? And all of these things. So here's a more specific SMART goal. I want to save $100 a month for my kids' college education in a 529 plan for the next 5 years. So say one of them is 13, will go to college when they're 18, and so now you want to be sure you have at least something saved for them to go to college. Okay, so now I'm going to try and show another video. We'll see if it works. Okay, so now I'm going to talk quickly about a spending plan. So now that we have all our goals, and we know our goals, we know our money personality, let's say we like to spend money on certain things, then we need to set the goals for those things that we like to buy. So our spending plan is, first of all, it's not a strict budget. It's not, you need to spend only $105 on this expense. That's it. You can't have any more. So the spending plan is a little bit more flexible. It's okay to do things that you need to do, but as long as you have your savings in place. So it's flexible in order to be able to achieve your goals. You need to set small milestones for yourself in your spending plan. So this can either be by altering your goal a little bit, by changing the length of time you might need in order to save for that goal. But if your goal is to save $5,000 by next year, this time next year, you want to have $5,000 to buy something, I don't know, down payment on your house or a new car, then think about it by saying, well, I only really need to save a small chunk every month. I only need to save an even smaller chunk every week. So how can I do this, and how can I accomplish these goals in order to, how can I save in order to accomplish my goals? Make it a little bit easier for yourself. So instead of saying, $5,000, wow, that's a lot of money, I'll never be able to do that. Set yourself smaller goals until you achieve it. Also, celebrate your victories. So if you take your lunch to work and you save yourself some money that way, give yourself a pat on the back. Or you need a new sweater, and instead of going and buying a really expensive sweater, you can go to the outlet mall and you can get something that's a little bit cheaper than what you would normally purchase in the first place. And if you have a setback in saving for your goals, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay to have that setback. Just try and get back onto your spending plan. Try and get back into the way you want to save money. So very quickly, some steps to create a spending plan, and then I'll have my other two guest speakers come up. But first, you want to identify your income. If it's, let's say, the same amount every single month, you can just take your month or your income and divide by 12. If it's completely different from month to month, maybe you don't have a steady income, maybe in like May you get a big chunk of money, then kind of underestimate how much income you have. So that way, if you get a bigger chunk in a certain month, you can use the excess to pay some bills or put it into your savings plan to accomplish your goals. Then you need to know your expenses. So usually banks, if you have online banking, it allows you to, it gives you kind of like, this is what you spent your money on and breaks it into categories. And so some of those categories are, you kind of get a shock whenever you look at those things. So I had a friend that every time she would go home from work, she would stop and she'd get a drink. And so it would be $5 a day. Anyway, she counted up how much she really spent in the month, and it was like $200 in the month that she bought on drinks. So maybe she should go and pack like a bottle of water every day, or pack her beverage that she likes to drink and bring it from home. It's a lot cheaper when you do that kind of thing. So you need to know where your leaks are, because small things really do add up. So ATM fees, snacks, drinks, that kind of thing really do add up in the long run. So it's important to know where your leaks are. Finally, compare your income and expenses, and this kind of tells you if you have a surplus or a deficit. So if you have extra left over, that's a good thing and that's exciting, but if you don't, it's okay. That's what setting goals and conserving and doing your spending plan helps you do. Then set your priorities for saving your goals. So if the most important goal for you is within a year, then you need to set a priority that goal is the most important. So we all hear the pay yourself first. So save first and then kind of go into all the other expenses that you might have. So your priorities is kind of where your money personality comes in. If you like instant gratification, then you might have to set priorities on your short-term goals. If you like delayed gratification, maybe your priorities are set for your longer-term goals. And some ways that you can achieve this. So, for example, let's say you like to have instant gratification. You like to reward yourself nicely and do nice things for yourself. You can set goals for longer term and control yourself by setting up ways to save for retirement where you don't even see that money. So for example, you have automatic drafts out of your account into a different savings account where you don't have an ATM card to it, you don't carry around your credit card to it, you cannot access those funds very easily. So that would be a way to kind of control yourself and control your spending in that way. So here's just some general overall categories of income. And then here's some overall categories of expenses. So I'm not going to really go over these just because I have some other speakers and it's quick. But if you do have questions, we're going to have some discussion after the session today, and then I'll stick around and answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so my next speaker is Jennifer Sass. So if you want to come up. So Jennifer is with Utah Education Savings Program, and she's going to just talk a little bit about setting a goal for education and the importance of it. So here's this. Thank you. Stick it in there.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here and to share some information about Utah Educational Savings Plan. And I have a few slides that just talk about just the general thought of saving for college. So we'll go and look at those. Just for your information, 71% of students who drop out of college do so for financial reasons. So that may not be a surprising statistic, but it's one to take into consideration. The reality is that families need help saving for college. There has been some studies that show that children with college saving accounts are 3 times more likely to attend college, and children with college savings accounts are 4 times more likely to graduate from college. In terms of just getting an idea of what kind of expense you can foresee in the future in terms of college, today, and these statistics are based on tuition and fees for 4 years of college in Utah. Today, you're looking about $21,779. And if we were to look into the future for someone who's just born now, 18 years, we're looking at a statistic around $42,628. So in terms of saving early, this just gives an example of someone who is investing in a college savings plan, assuming a 5% annual rate of return and compounded monthly. And this is just kind of depicting here the contributions, assuming a 5% return, what type of, even just a small contribution can make in terms of the long run. So things to consider when you're saving for college, and this is something that Laura kind of addressed too in her remarks, but where are you going to college? And that's a question to ask. Are you going to community college? Are you going to an Ivy League college? Are you looking at a bachelor's degree, an associate degree? Are you just looking to pay for books? Are you just wanting to cover room and board? So these are all things to keep in mind. In terms of the average UESP account, our account owners have an average of $20,000 in their account. For Utah residents, it's about $8,500. So just to give you just an indication of the rate in which or what people are saving. So for those of you who are not familiar with Utah Educational Savings Plan, we are the state's official 529 plan. So we are a nonprofit trust that's run by the Utah State Board of Regents. The 529 plan is a tax-advantaged way to save for college. Its name, 529, comes from the tax code that established it. Every state, with the exception of Wyoming, has a 529 plan. UESP is rated, highly ranked by Morningstar, an independent financial rating organization. When you open an account with UESP, you choose a way that you would like to have your money invested. So we have 3 different primary types of investment options: age-based and static, where the funds are pre-selected for you, and customized, where you have the ability to choose the funds yourself. UESP is an investment, and UPS is not able to provide investment advice. As with any investment, there is a chance that your account could lose value. In terms of the Utah tax benefit, and definitely the highlight of the college savings plan is the tax benefits attached to it, is that the money goes into the account post-tax, and any earnings that are accrued are tax deferred. Then when the money is taken out to be used for qualified educational expenses, such as room and board, tuition, fees, those are not taxed. There is also a Utah state tax benefit if an account is open for a child under the age of 19. And you can feel free to stop by. I will be in the roundtable discussion area if you have any additional questions regarding UESP or how to set up an account. We are also extending a promotion for anybody who does not currently have an account as a new account owner. If you open an account and put $20 in there, we'll give you an initial $20 match. So thank you so much.
So how can you beat free money, free $20? So now we're going to talk about achieving goals. So how do we achieve the goal of saving even $20 a month into, let's say, an education fund? So how can you achieve that? How do you do this? We talked about setting up a spending plan and saving money for our goals, given our personalities. So how do we actually do it? So first of all, you automate the savings. This means that you have your bank or your employer do a direct deposit. So if you get your paycheck every single month, you do a direct deposit. And for example, I have 2 accounts. So I have my main account that I share with my husband, and then I have an extra account that I have my money going into. So every month I put like $100, $200 in this extra account, and then the rest of my paycheck goes into our joint account. So this extra money I use to buy new clothes. If I need new clothes, I use it if we have an emergency. So it's just a little bit of extra money set aside that I don't even touch, I don't see it come in my account. I don't take the cash in my hand and take it to the bank. It's all automatic. I don't even see this extra account that I have just accumulating money. The next is to keep the money out of reach. So if you have this extra account that you're saving for your goal in, you want to keep it out of reach. So for example, don't carry around the ATM card that's associated with that account. So don't do it, because then you'll be like, oh, well, it's only $20. I'll just take it out this time. And then next week, well, it's only really $20, so I'll take it out this time. But keep it out of reach. You can put it into different types of accounts that will assess a penalty if you decide to take the money out. So retirement accounts are like this. So if you put money into a retirement account and then you decide, well, let me just take out some money from that, it'll be okay, they'll penalize you and tax you and all that kind of good stuff. And then choose the right savings vehicle to maximize your saving potential. So for education funding, a 529 plan is perfect for that because of the tax benefits. If you want to save for retirement, you choose a retirement vehicle. If you just want to save money for emergencies, then put it into an easily accessible account that won't penalize you for taking that money out if you need it. And then finally, get help from a CFP. Go and ask someone that is experienced and knowledgeable in this kind of stuff to see where you might need to get help or how you can get help given the situation that you're in. So next I want to hand it over to Karen. She's sitting in the back. And Karen is from UCCU. And I forgot your title, Director of Business Development. So here she is.
Thank you. Hi. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about achieving goals. And many of you might think I'm going to talk about financial goals. Really, what is the definition of goal? Well, the one that I particularly love is called a successful attempt at achievement. A successful attempt at achievement. Okay, I'm old enough, probably one of the oldest in this room, and everything I set out to do, I was charted on that course, and I was going to do really, really well. The one thing I promised my parents when I was young, about 12, 13, was that I would go to college, that I would not marry before college. And it had been ingrained in me. I had saved money to go to college. We would put in about $10 a week. We did the 3-3-3. 3 was for me, 3 was for the college education, and 3 was for the home, a third of whatever I made. Babysitting money, you name it. So when the mighty winds began to blow, and I met who would become my future husband when I was a sophomore in college and he wanted to get married, I remembered my promise. But I had also invested in myself from the time and the age of 12. And it killed me, but I said to him, you know what? If you really love me, you'll wait. and he ended up waiting. Unfortunately, he kind of thought that our marriage should have more than one woman in it. So that sort of didn't work, but I was married for 16 years and had 3 great kids and went on to have another one after I moved here. So let's go back to a successful attempt at achievement. Who remembers what happened in 1492? The ocean blue, exactly. Okay, does anybody remember or know what Columbus was trying to achieve? That's correct. But at the time, leaving Spain, they would go around the Cape of Good Hope, which was also called the Cape of Storms, and many people lost their lives in going to India. So Christopher Columbus was one of these people that thought the world is round. And he said, I'll bet you if I go due west 8,000 miles, I'm going to run into India because the world isn't flat. Hence, the land got the term West Indies. Do you ever look in the Caribbean and wonder why it's called the West Indies? Isn't that the most random thing? But they thought that it was India. They thought the Atlantic Ocean was actually the Pacific Ocean. Christopher Columbus had 3 goals. Number 1, to find a safer route to India and to increase exportation and importation. Number 2, to take the Catholic faith out of just Europe to Asia. And 3 was to gain his fortune and to help those that were going on his journey with him. 1492, October 12th, he discovers the West Indies. He thinks it's Asia. They don't know that it's a continent. After him, we have John and Sebastian Cabot, because they say, oh my gosh, well, Ferdinand and Isabella in Spain, they get all that land, and they're going to get all that exportation from the West Indies. Well, the problem was they were Aborigines there, which is how they got their name, the Indians. So John and Sebastian Cabot say, well, the world's round, so let's go 4,000 nautical miles north, and we'll cut the time in half. And what do they discover? Well, first of all, Newfoundland, icebergs. John Sebastian dies because of an iceberg, but they discover Canada. And so now this gives Henry VII Canada and all the rights to that. Now fast forward to 1518. Ponce de Leon. Ponce de Leon decides, now his goal is, there is the Fountain of Youth, and it's located in this area called Haiti. And so we're going to take Christopher Columbus's route, and we're going to go just a little bit further south, and we're going to find this spring, and we're going to drink, and we're going to stay youthful for all of our lives. Where does he go? Florida. And he discovers Florida. Anybody know the meaning of Florida? Flowery Easter. He discovered Florida, St. Augustine to be exact, on Easter. My point in all of this is we have lofty goals. We have great goals and we're going to achieve them. But you know what? Let's go back to what it is, and a successful attempt at achievement. The goals I had with a husband, with work, with raising my children, constantly changed. And if I didn't change with it, what would I become? A failure. But if failures became successes and defined my path and made me stronger, that, my friends, is a success story. So what I'm trying to say to you, those of you that will influence your children, will influence your grandchildren, will influence each other, future children, be flexible. Perception is reality. Don't embrace negativity. Don't look at things that were wrong. I married an attorney. I met him in college, put him through law school, worked 3 jobs, and we were going to have this great life. I went from a posh country club life to my electricity shut off and thousands of dollars in debt and 3 children to feed. I didn't plan that, but I was determined to land on my feet. Because stuff happens, and it was coming. But I wasn't going to be defeated, and I wasn't going to look at it as bad. Yeah, was I in a fetal position under the bed for 2 years? About that. Yeah. Did I feel ugly, hideous, and stupid? Yeah. Did everybody know what was going on in my marriage except for me? Mm-hmm. But it didn't define me. Oh, it didn't define me. And so then I moved to Utah. I came here from New York. I had all my whole life in a Ryder truck. And I remarried. And after 4 years, I realized the goals that I have set for myself, starting over at 40, were not his goals. So I had to make another determination. And that was, I stayed married 4 years, and then I went out on my own. For 34 years, I have been a hands-on mother. My youngest is now a sophomore in high school. You want to talk about a collegiate savings plan? Well, part of that just went to a pressurized water system this summer in my house. Stuff happens. There's $200 every paycheck that's taken right out of my paycheck. I don't want to know where it goes. Just put it somewhere, because the rainy day, even though it's sunny, in about 2 hours, because the weather changes forever in life, it's going to rain. But you put a smile on your face. You put one foot in front of the other. You keep going, and you learn to be resilient, and you learn to stand up. You see this outfit? Where did this outfit come from? You want to talk about needs and wants? Yeah, I would love a pair of Jimmy's Choo shoes. I'm not getting it. This all came from Burlington Coat Factory. Why? Because I won't set foot in Nordstrom's, I won't go to Macy's, and I won't go to Dillard's. Why? Because it's not my reality. Would I love MAC lipstick? Yeah, but where do I go? Revlon. You know, let's be real. You know? Woo! There's just, what is my guilty pleasure every day? Really? It's a Reese's peanut butter cup. And I save it for 11:05. And I make sure that I work out and walk on a treadmill for a half hour so that I can have that, because I know I'll have two. Because I won't buy the single package. I'm just telling you that life happens, and it doesn't happen how we want it to. I will tell you at UCCU, if you open an account there, you get free a certified financial planner who will sit down with you and will talk with you, and it's never too soon. I don't care if you save $1 a week. It multiplies. There's something called a good credit loan. If you have bad credit, go to UCCU. Don't go to a bank, please. Just go to a credit union, okay? Because it's no-fee banking. And I'm just putting a plug in. But, you know, take out a loan for $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, and then set up automatic bill pay. Borrow the $2,000, put it into an account lateral to it, pay the first payment, and set up automatic bill pay and let it pay itself back. That's how you get good credit. We live in Utah County. I came from New York. People squeeze a nickel here till the buffalo throws up. And I'm no exception. So I got to figure out really creative ways to have something at the end of everything. The only thing that's constant is change. And attitude is everything. Perception is reality. Just because jobs or geographical moves, or husbands. Oh, I'm a third of the way to Liz Taylor. Just because they didn't find the value that I thought I had didn't define me. I found it. And I've been doing it on my own, just like all of you. We're doing this on our own. Perception is your reality. Fake it till you make it. Stay within your means, but be who you are, and that is indomitable. Take your values, take your talents, and love others and teach them by example. Don't give up. It's a long road, but we can chart that course. And you know what? Ponce de Leon didn't find the fountain of youth. Obviously, I haven't found it, but he found America. So achievements can really come from successful failures. There really are no failures. There's just a change of direction. Do it and do it well, and take it and own it. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. That was awesome. She's so great at motivational speaking. It's just, ooh, you feel good afterward. So, Karen, yes. So, just So we talked about our money personality, we talked about savings goals and anything like that. So does anybody have any general questions? Something that we would like to do is kind of group up into groups and have a dialogue with what you learned. What you've learned from Gail and the messages that she sent. What you learned from Karen and Jenny and myself. And just talk about those different things that might kind of help you achieve your goals and achieve what you have set out for you in life. So with that, it was a pleasure and very exciting for everybody. Thank you so much.